I wanted to give my professional opinion and my personal opinion from my experience recovering from multiple addictions. Now, I'm also an alcoholic. I'm sober from alcohol 12 years as well. So I personally wouldn't drink anyway. But eliminating the fact that someone may be alcoholic, that they're simply just meth addicted or sex addicted or perhaps cocaine addicted or other addictions, but not alcoholic, would it be okay for them to drink? Hey guys, I'm behavioral health and sex addiction recovery coach Rob Lopicola, and I'm happy that you're here today. And I wanted to talk with you today about recovering from sex addiction. And if you are recovering from sex addiction or meth addiction, I was sex and meth addicted myself, and I am free from compulsive behaviors and addiction to meth for 12 years. But the question is, if you are recovering or recovered from sex and meth addiction, can you drink alcohol? And this is a question that came up with a fellow coach in the industry, and it was an interesting idea. Now, there are those in the recovery community that offer some leeway when it comes to certain components that were part of your addiction. For example, there are many sex addicts who are addicted to amyl nitrate, which we call poppers. It's an inhalant that creates a feeling of euphoria that can last anywhere from 30 seconds to perhaps 2 or 3 minutes. And it gives you a sense of feeling really high. And there are a lot of men that, especially gay men, it's more of an inhalant, poppers that are used in the gay community, but there are heterosexuals that use it as well. And it can be addictive and certainly a component of sex addiction. Now, if you're meth addicted and sex addicted and you recover from your sex addiction or meth addiction, is it okay to, one, inhale amyl nitrate poppers and have a drink? For example, have a glass of wine with dinner on Friday, or go out drinking with a friend on Saturday and have 2 or 3 drinks, as long as you don't get drunk. Is that acceptable? How interesting is that question? And you're probably contemplating now that, can I have a drink? I'm not an alcoholic, but I am sex and meth addicted, and I'm sober from sex and meth. So maybe I can have a few drinks. And there are those that are right now shivering out of feeling overwhelmed that that question would even exist if you're a sex addict or meth addict to go out and drink. And there are those that are just, how could you possibly even think to have a drink? And there are doctors in recovery from various addictions that are very strong with that opinion of no alcohol, regardless of whether you're recovering from sex or meth or other drugs in your recovery lifestyle. So I wanted to give my professional opinion and my personal opinion from my experience recovering from multiple addictions. Now, I'm also an alcoholic. I'm sober from alcohol 12 years as well. So I personally wouldn't drink anyway. But eliminating the fact that someone may be alcoholic, that they're simply just meth addicted or sex addicted or perhaps cocaine addicted or other addictions, but not alcoholic, would it be okay for them to drink? So in my professional opinion and my experience in sobriety, is addiction is about escaping feelings. Addiction is about escaping, coping with stress and anxiety. And we deal with coping with stress and anxiety through acting out in sexual behaviors that can become addictive or compulsive, or smoking methamphetamine or other drugs. I'm just going to focus on sex and meth for here, but you can substitute anything in there. So I deal with life by acting out in behaviors or taking in substances that offer escape and numbing. And I've learned to escape in behaviors or addictive substances to deal with life. And once I break free from meth addiction and sex addiction, and I'm now coping with life in a healthy way, free from those addictions, if I go and drink, being that I'm already a recovering addict, addicted to behaviors or other substances, once I drink, I lower my inhibitions. And when we drink or take in any substance like drugs, we lower our inhibitions, and now we're more apt to do things we wouldn't do with a sober mind. So those of you who are meth addicted and perhaps not sex addicted, when you get high on methamphetamine, you may act out in sexual behaviors you never even dreamed you would act out in. You get sober off your methamphetamine use, and you're probably appalled that you did those sexual behaviors, because when you're sober, you wouldn't. So if I were to drink alcohol, my inhibitions would be lowered, and now I'm not going to be thinking about consequences of calling someone to get high on meth or go act out in sexual behaviors that ultimately I will be appalled at or opposed by. I know in my life of addiction, I acted out in sexual behaviors and I had sexual conversations I wouldn't have sound of mind. But under the influence of alcohol and methamphetamine, I was off the charts. So I personally would suggest, if you're recovering from methamphetamine or other drugs and sex addiction, to refrain from all mind and mood altering substances, which includes amyl nitrate, poppers. Do not partake in something that brings you into a euphoria state unnaturally. And I say unnaturally because if you go running for 5 miles or hit the weights hard at the gym or hit a hard aerobic class at the gym, you will feel euphoric. But that's good. Those are healthy euphoria feelings. I'm talking about the unnatural ones. And amyl nitrate poppers gives you an unnatural euphoria, which isn't good for you. It's not healthy. And those of you that may have been addicted to poppers, amyl nitrate, you probably also did sexual behaviors under the influence of poppers you wouldn't do with a sound mind. I know I did. Even if I wasn't using meth or drinking, when I would inhale poppers, I would act out in sexual ways I wouldn't do when I was sound of mind. So my suggestion from my experience, and many addiction psychiatrists and addiction counselors who are leading recovery for the masses, agree to refrain from alcohol, refrain from all mind and mood altering substances. Now I will close with this. I understand that if you're not addicted to alcohol but other substances or behaviors, you may need to experiment. You may need to navigate options or negotiations with certain parts of your life to see if you can manage and not go back into full relapse. Manage drinking, for example, and not go back into full relapse. You may need to experiment with that. And if you do, you do. And you may learn. And a lot of times we have to learn as we progress in recovery. I was in recovery for 10 years before I got arrested, before I brought myself to a deplorable state of mind and body. 10 years I was in and out of the rooms of recovery. Why? Because I negotiated with my addiction to alcohol, sex, and eventually methamphetamine for years. And I learned that I cannot negotiate with a mind or mood altering substance or behavior. I can't negotiate with it because it'll take me down that rabbit hole again of destruction. You may have to learn for yourself how far you can negotiate with anything that's mind and mood altering. So that's my thought. That's my professional opinion. And you do with it as you choose. My hope for you is that you recover from your addiction and you live a life where you are thriving, peaceful, serene. And most importantly, as my coach always tells me, this is not about being happy, joyous, and free. It's about being present and aware in the moment, regardless of what comes your way. Now, if you are struggling with sex addiction, I offer you a free 10-step strategy session. It's 30 minutes long, and I would love you to hit the link below, watch that 30-minute strategy session, and apply for a 45-minute phone call about sex addiction recovery with me. Yes. So there's your 10-step strategy session. It's going to help you immensely. And then you can reach out to me and we can have a complimentary 45-minute phone call to give you suggestions on recovery from sex addiction and perhaps change one or two core beliefs you have today, and that can ripple out and change so much of your life. I look forward to hearing from you. I'm so grateful you were here. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and hit the like button if you like this video. I look forward to hearing from you. You have a blessed day and take care.